Oops. Good morning and welcome to a panel of utility commissioners and staff of the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. A regular meeting being held this morning, Wednesday, September 13th at 10 a.m. by remote teleconference. My name is Chairman Marissa Gillette, and I'm joined virtually today by my colleagues, the Vice Chairman Jack Pekoski and Commissioner Michael Karen. We have a regular calendar and a consent calendar in front of us today. We'll turn first to our regular calendar, on which there are 3 items. The first item is docket number 130126 REO1, PURA's generic investigation of electric submetering, review of application and processes. And we're going to turn to Authority Staff Attorney, Mr. Jim Riley, to present the decision for the panel's consideration, please.
Good morning, and thank you, commissioners. In this decision, the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority implements improvements to the electrical submetering application and oversight processes and identifies proposed changes for continued evaluation. The authority reopened docket number 130126 on April 7, 2021, in response to a motion from the authority's Office of Education, Outreach, and Enforcement, commonly referred to as EOE. This proceeding was then delegated to EOE, which was specifically tasked with addressing areas of improvement identified in the electric submetering application and oversight processes, as well as clarifying the billing formulas to be used when a Class 1 renewable energy source is involved. EOE also conducted multiple working groups with stakeholders to further evaluate potential electrical submetering process improvements. EOE subsequently filed a motion with the authority requesting that it issue a proposed final decision in this proceeding, which the authority did on August 7th, 2023. Some of the electrical submetering application oversight process improvements implemented in this decision included directive for EOE to create and to update on a quarterly basis a list of approved electrical submetering customers and associated docket numbers on the PURA website, as well as a new compliance filing requirement for new submetering applicants and existing submetering customers, a sample of which will be appended to the decision. The decision further touches on policies regarding meter reading, billing practice and billing format, performance standards, and consumer protections, amongst other topics. Importantly, this decision does not eliminate or supersede any prior standards or requirements adopted by the 2014 and 2015 PURA decisions in docket number 1301-26, except to the extent those instructions have been updated in this decision. Authority staff recommends adoption, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Attorney Riley. Is there a motion?
I move adoption, Madam Chairman.
And second.
Thank you. The decision has been regularly moved and seconded. If there are no questions or comments, I'd ask Mr. Bumpin to please take the roll.
Chairman Gillette,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Pekoski,
Yes. Commissioner
Karen,
Yes.
Thank you. The decision has been adopted. We'll turn next to docket number 230718, the application of UI to issue debt, and we'll turn to Authority Staff Mr. Guy Novello to present the decision for the panel's consideration, please.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, it's me, Rita Skiris, that's doing the UI debt.
Oh.
I think there's a little typo there with the.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Apologies. We will come to Mr. Novello in a second to present the third item. Ms. Skiris, please present 230718 for our consideration.
Actually, UI debt is 230719. So I can proceed if you would like.
Okay, let's do 230718 and Mr. Novello, please.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair. Good morning, Vice Chairman and Commissioner Karen. On July 21st, 2023, Connecticut Natural Gas submitted an application for just pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1643B and Connecticut Agency Regulations 16146 and 16431, requesting approval from the authority to issue debt in the aggregate amount not to exceed $100 million in bank or private placement market. There was no requirement under the Connecticut General Statutes for a hearing in this matter. No participant requested one, and the authority issued a proposed final decision on this matter on September 6, 2023. Connecticut Natural Gas is requesting approval for the issuance of debt in multiple series in the bank market or in the private placement market. The debt issued in the debt market would take the form of no purchase agreements and bank market financings, and would be in the form of term loans. Excuse me. The maturity of the debt would range from 1 to 30 years, and the principal amount not to exceed 100 million. The exact amount, maturity, terms, and conditions, redemption provisions, and coupon rate would be determined at the time of issuance and will depend on prevailing market conditions. The coupon rate proposed is going to be fixed or floating, consistent with market rates for instruments of similar maturities and credit ratings, with the condition that the coupon rate not exceed 400 basis points above the benchmark U.S. Treasury security. The authorization period would begin from the date of approval by the authority through December 31st, 2025. The company's proposed use of debt is consistent with the statute 1643B, as the debt is for purposes other than paying expenses in the ordinary course of business and not for the payment of dividends. The proceeds of the 100 million would be coupled with the company's net cash flow to fund capital expenditures and long-term debt redemptions. In evaluating the proposed debt issuances, the authority generally considers transaction fees, terms and conditions of the debt issuance, the coupon rate, and the effective yield, and the overall financial impact on the company. Here, the company proposes a series of future bond issuances rather than seeking approval of a specific debt or bond issuance. Therefore, the actual amount, maturity, terms, and coupon rate are currently unknown and will be subject to prevailing market conditions at the time of issuance. The authority analyzed the effect of the notes on the company's capital structure, cost of capital, and credit rating using current market conditions for the coupon rate and traditional terms for secured debt. The authority concluded that the transaction is not anticipated to have a detrimental impact on the company's financial flexibility, and the solvency ratios remain within industry parameters. And additionally, the rating agency metrics remain within the relevant rating agency benchmarks for the company's current credit rating. Based upon the authority's review of this transaction, I recommend the decision be adopted by the panel, and thank you for your time this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Novello. Is there a motion?
I move adoption, Madam Chairman.
Second.
Thank you. The decision has been regularly moved and seconded. If there are no questions or comments, please take the roll, Mr. Bell.
Chairman Gillette,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Pakowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Yes.
Thank you. The decision has been adopted. Now we will turn to docket number 230719, which is the application of UI to issue debt. And we will turn to Ms. Burris for the presentation, the decision for the panel's consideration, please.
Okay, good morning, Chairman and Vice Chair and Commissioner Karen and public. This is Rita Skiris for the PURA regarding 230719 UI debt financing proposal for 525 million. By background of the application, on July 21st, 2023, UI submitted an application pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1643B and Connecticut Agencies Regs 16-1-46 and 1643-1, requesting approval from the authority to issue the proposed financing. The authority opened an uncontested proceeding to review this application by notice of proceeding July 31st, 2023, and a proposed final decision was issued on this matter on September 7th, 2023, with all parties given the opportunity to file written exceptions. Going into the financial transaction highlights, the proposal is for issuance of debt in multiple series in the bank market or in the private placement market. The debt will be issued in capital markets, would take the form of a note purchase agreement, and those in the debt bank financing markets would be in the form of a term loan. The maturity of the debt would be ranging from 1 year to 30 years, and the principal amount in total up to 525 million. The exact amount, maturity, and terms, conditions redemption provisions and coupon rates would be determined at the time of issuance and will depend on prevailing market conditions. There is a caveat that the coupon rate is proposed to be fixed or floating, consistent with then market rates for an instrument of similar maturity and credit rating, with the condition that the coupon rate would not exceed 400 basis points or equivalently 4% above the benchmark US Treasury security in the case of a fixed rate debt, or the secured overnight financing rate so far in the case of a floating rate debt, or another applicable index determined at that time. The authorization period will begin from the date of our approval through December 31st, 2025. Regarding the authority's review in these matters, the authority typically reviews the following: the proposed use of funds and several other factors such as transaction fees, terms and conditions, coupon rate, and the effective yield of that coupon rate, and the overall impact to the financial condition of the company. The use of funds. The company is seeking the multi-year financing authority and in order to provide it with flexibility to address its financing needs over that time through 2025. The proceeds of the $225 million of the long-term debt will be coupled with the company's net cash flows earned during the time period to fund capital expenditures and long-term redemptions and repay short-term debt. Specifically, the company identified forecasts that it will incur total capital expenditures of $437 million and will need to refinance long-term debt maturities of $240 million in total. Portion of that, $75 million, will be due by October 2023 of this year. Additionally, it will need to pay down $100 million in short-term debt by that is outstanding as of March 31st of 2023. Financing transaction itself, in evaluating the proposed debt issuance, we consider the transaction fees, the terms and conditions, the coupon rate, effective yield, and overall impact on the company. Here we have a proposal of future bond issuances rather than a specific approval of debt or bond issuance. Therefore, the actual amounts, maturities, terms, conditions, fees, coupon rates are unknown at this time. So most of the analysis here is based on the company's past experience. Regarding transaction fees, the company estimated that these would be in aggregate $3.25 million for the $525 million in principal. The authority defines that reasonable given the size of the principal being offered. Terms and conditions reviewed, we did not review, and we did review and did not find anything unreasonable, and the pre-approval issuance parameters are in line with similar financings that the other companies in Connecticut have done, though we find we can review that in future applications. Coupon rate and the effective yield, these will be either fixed or floating, consistent with market rate conditions for similar maturity and ratings. Again, the 400 basis points above the base measure will be a cap on the offering. Overall financial impact on the company, we looked at the capitalization mix and weighted average cost of capital. There's a marginal increase from 7.08 to 7.10 on a pre-tax basis to the weighted average cost of capital. That's not, in my opinion, a significant change. So essentially the capitalization mix will stay the same post offering. The financial flexibility, the financial transaction is not anticipated to have an adverse effect or impact the company's financial flexibility as measured by solvency ratios and credit rating parameters. Currently, the company is presently rated A- by S&P, Baa1 by Moody's, and A by Fitch. Based upon the review of staff, we don't see that changing. Because the credit metrics of the debt offering will be within the existing proposed the benchmarks that the rating agencies publish. Overall, the transaction is not anticipated to have a detrimental impact on financial flexibility. As noted, the ratios and parameters will remain within the relevant rating agency benchmarks. In conclusion, given that this request for approval is a pre-authorization with specific issuance parameters, the authority grants, but also incorporates several order compliance parameters that are identified on page 8. And these parameters will have to be met with each offering. Again, they're on page 8 for your review, but what we look for in this post-offering order compliance is to ensure that the company meets their initial parameters that they presented to us as what they will abide by. And commissioners, with this, I recommend that the decision be adopted by the panel, and thanks you for your time and going through my presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Gross. Is there a motion?
I move adoption.
Second.
Thank you. The decision has been regularly moved and seconded. If there are no questions or comments, Mr. Bumpin, please take the roll.
Chairman Gillette,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Pakowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Yes.
Thank you. The decision has been adopted. Next, we will turn to our consent calendar on which there are 9 items. Is there a motion?
Madam Chairman, I move today's consent calendar in full.
And I'll second it in full.
Very good. Thank you. The consent calendar has been regularly moved and seconded. Mr. Bumpin, please take the roll.
Chairman Gillette,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Pakowski,
Yes.
Commissioner Karen,
Yes.
Thank you. The consent calendar has been adopted in full. That brings us to the end of today's regular meeting agenda. We will adjourn. We will reconvene next Wednesday, September 20th at 10 a.m. by remote teleconference for our next regular meeting. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.